Marilyn Monroe was a legend.
Oh, do you feel the breeze from the subway? Isn't it delicious?
On the evening of August 4th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe, an American actress, died at age 36 due to a barbiturate overdose inside her home at 12305 Fifth Helena Drive in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Monroe had been one of the most popular Hollywood stars during the 1950s and the early 1960s.
At the top isn't so important. What I'd like to do, that is what I would like to accomplish. I would like to be a good actress. Mm-hmm. And it's not a matter of being on top, because I think some of the best actors and actresses perhaps aren't on the top. So that's not the thing.
Monroe had suffered from mental illness and substance abuse, and she had not completed a film since The Misfits, released on February 1st, 1961.
Well, cheer up.
I will. I just hate to fight with anybody. When you win, you lose. You know, when you're hard.
Well, you're free. Maybe the trouble is you're not used to it yet.
No, the trouble is I always end up back where I started.
Which was a box office disappointment. Monroe had spent 1961 preoccupied with her various health problems, and in April 1962 had begun filming Something's Got to Give for 20th Century Fox, but the studio fired her in early June. Fox publicly blamed Monroe for the production's problems, and in the weeks preceding her death, she had attempted to repair her public image by giving several interviews to high-profile publications. She also began negotiations with Fox on being rehired for Something's Got to Give, and for starring roles in other productions. For several years heading into the early 1960s, Marilyn Monroe had been depending on amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol, and she had experienced various mental health problems that included depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and chronic insomnia. Monroe had acquired a reputation for being difficult to work with, and she frequently delayed productions by being late to film sets, in addition to having trouble remembering her lines. By 1960, Monroe's behavior was adversely affecting her career. For example, although she was the preferred choice of author Truman Capote to play Holly Golightly in the film adaptation of Breakfast at Tiffany's, declined to cast her due to the fear that she would complicate the film's production. The two films that Monroe completed in the 1960s, Let's Make Love, 1960, and The Misfits, were both commercial failures. During the filming of the latter, she had to spend a week detoxing in a hospital. Her third marriage, to Arthur Miller, also ended in divorce in January 1961. After Monroe returned to Los Angeles, she resumed filming and celebrated her 36th birthday on the set of Something's Got to Give. She was again absent for several days, which led Fox to fire her on June 7th and sue her for breach of contract, demanding $750,000 in damages. Monroe was replaced by Lee Remick, but after co-star Dean Martin refused to make the film with anyone other than Monroe, Fox sued him as well and shut down the production.
All right, Kim.
Adam and Eve.
I was afraid you'd misunderstand about that.
Oh, what's to misunderstand? A man's wife spends 5 years on an island with a strange man.
Would you like it any better if I knew him?
And it slips her mind?
Can we start again?
Yeah.
All you can think about is the way I behaved with this poor little... Okay.
With this poor little fly.
All you can think of is how I behaved with a poor little man who wouldn't harm a fly.
Yeah, one more. That was good, though, huh?
I mean, how long does it take to tell a woman my wife's back? takes me 2 seconds. It's taken, you've had 2 days. Sorry, George, but we can do it.
To counter the negative publicity, Monroe gave interviews to several high-profile publications, such as Life, Cosmopolitan, and Vogue. During the last weeks of her life, after successfully renegotiating her contract with Fox, filming with Monroe was scheduled to resume in September on Something's Got to Give, and she made plans for starring in What a Way to Go, 1964, as well as a biopic about Jean Harlow. Monroe spent the last day of her life, Saturday, August 4th, 1962, at her Brentwood home. In the morning, she met photographer Lawrence Schiller to discuss the possibility of Playboy publishing nude photos taken of her on the set of Something's Got to Give. She also received a massage from her personal massage therapist, talked with friends on the phone, and signed for deliveries. Also present at the house that morning were her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, and her publicist, Patricia Newcomb, who had stayed overnight. According to Newcomb, they had an argument because Monroe had not slept well the night before. Monroe's house at 12305 Fifth Helena Drive in Los Angeles. At 4:30 p.m., Monroe's psychiatrist, Ralph Greenson, arrived at the house to conduct a therapy session and asked Newcomb to leave. Before Greenson left around 7 p.m., he asked Murray to stay overnight and keep Monroe company. At approximately 7 to 7:15, Monroe received a call from Joe DiMaggio Jr., with whom she had stayed close since the divorce from his father, the elder, Joe DiMaggio. DiMaggio told Monroe that he had broken up with his girlfriend she did not like, and he detected nothing alarming in Monroe's behavior. At around 7:40 to 7:45, Monroe telephoned Greenson to tell him the news about the breakup of DiMaggio and his girlfriend. Monroe retired to her bedroom at approximately 8 p.m. She received a call from actor Peter Lawford, brother-in-law of President Kennedy, who was hoping to persuade her to attend his party that night. Unable to reach Monroe, Lawford called his agent, Milton Evans. At approximately 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, August 5th, Murray woke up, sensing that something was wrong, and saw a light from under Monroe's bedroom door, but she was not able to get a response and found the door locked. Murray telephoned Greenson, on whose advice she looked in through a window, and saw Monroe lying face down on her bed, covered by a sheet and clutching a telephone receiver. Greenson arrived shortly thereafter. He entered the room by breaking a window and found Monroe dead. He called her physician, Hyman Engelberg, who arrived at the house at around 3:50 a.m. and officially confirmed the death.
Now, according to this story that I'm receiving at this time, this is all occurring shortly after midnight. And I got the phone call at 4:25 a.m. And if this story is true, this means that these people are staying in this house for 4 hours with a dead body.
This happened at midnight.
So I asked them, well, why did you not call sooner? Why did you let us know sooner? And no one wanted to answer me. They tried to ignore me. But I thought that was important, so I pressed for an answer. And finally, Dr. Greenson spoke up.
We can't do anything until we're...
Incidentally, Dr. Greenson did most of the talking when I was there.
You have to understand, she's...
Dr. Greenson said we had to get permission from the publicity department of the studio before we could notify anybody. Now, that is rank nonsense. That's not an answer. There's certainly no truth to it.
Now, 70 pills commit suicide. Suicide, Officer Clements. Make sure you write that down.
The whole place was very neat. There was no loose ends around. The bed itself was very neat. Only the sheet was on the bed over Marilyn's body. There's a lot of reports about her having a phone in her hand. Not when I was there. Not when I was there. And the whole house, or the part I saw of the house, everything had been picked up.